Everybody is set to go. You look so pretty. Oh, I miss you. Okay.
I know.
All right.
Yeah.
You ever finally sit down, like really sit down, and that's the exact moment someone yells your name from the other room?
Oh yeah, every time. It's like the universe knows. The second I get comfortable, someone needs a snack, the dog's barking, or my phone's ringing.
So whether you're listening in the car, hiding in the bathroom, or actually lucky enough to sit down,
grab your coffee and let's get into it. Welcome to I Just Sat Down.
Welcome back to I Just Sat Down. Today's episode is a very special one because the guest sitting across from us today isn't just an expert in her field, she's family. So we're diving into a topic that honestly doesn't get enough airtime in the motherhood community, perimenopause. So whether you're 35 or 45, if you felt like your moods, your energy, or your body are changing in ways you can't quite explain, this episode is for you. So joining us today is my cousin, Angie, a dedicated nurse who has made it her mission to help women navigate the hormonal roller coaster of midlife. So Ange, welcome to the show. We're thrilled to have you.
welcome.
You super thrilled to be here.
Yeah, so a little bit more about Angie. She was the first grandchild on my dad's side, so 11 more came after her. I think that's right. I had to count this morning. She's a mother of two incredible boys who I always envision are little, but they're actually so grown. And she's, right, they're so big now. She's worked as a nurse since I can remember and has done some pretty incredible things with her career. So I just want to hand it over to you, Angie, and just kind of start at the beginning, like why nursing?
Sure. I actually got into nursing because I thought it would be like my gateway career into what I was actually supposed to do with my life.
Which was what?
I don't know, because I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was working in bars and hanging out in Toronto and having the time of my life and thought I can't be a waitress for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And, as you know, our grandma was a nurse.
Yes.
I'm always interested in the health field. So that's kind of why I got into it. But it's been, 25 years now. I know, which is weird because it's still only 1995. So
right. And we're so young. We're still so young.
Yeah. And started as an emerge nurse and kind of, had kids in that time. And of course, emergency nursing and having kids kind of doesn't go well together, I found, for me, because every time I saw a kid come in, I pictured my own kid. Right? Yeah. So it's very challenging. People just started to get nasty. So I kind of ventured out of that. I worked up in Nunavut. I worked out in BC. Yeah. And then I did a few other things. I've been an infection control nurse. I've been a chemotherapy and infusion clinic nurse. I've been a manager. I'm currently a director of care. So, yeah, lots.
You've kind of dabbled in all of it, eh? I love that.
So adult ADHD is what I've got for sure. I think I had it as a kid too, but definitely diagnosed now, which comes out during the perimenopausal years for those of us who didn't know we had it. It rears its ugly head then. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I feel like so many of our age group is like, I have ADHD, and it's like those things are obviously connected in this stage of life. So what was that like moment that brought you into the perimenopause space and wanting to teach on that specifically?
So through like COVID as a nurse, burning out, all the things, I was also in my early 40s and was always tired. Like I remember going to my doctor being like, I'm just bagged all the time. Like, what is going on? She's like, well, you're busy and you have lots of stress. And my doctor was fabulous. And so I didn't really know anything about perimenopause. I mean, I obviously knew that menopause occurs. During that time, I kind of was like, I think I want to get out of nursing. So I started taking courses in nutrition to be a nutritionist and to become a, not a physical therapist, what's the word? Trainer. Like, this is also part of perimenopause. Personal trainer. That's
personal trainer.
Yeah. And then I kind of went down like the burnout route. I thought, oh, maybe it's like people are just burnt out and I want to really connect with women who are burnt out. And then I was just like, wait a second. I started having hot flashes. Well, more night sweats. My night sweats started to occur first, probably around 42 that I can remember. And then I was like, oh, I think I'm in perimenopause, but I didn't know because I have an IUD, so I haven't had a period in years. Yeah, so then I just went down the Dr. Google rabbit hole, and I found it incredibly confusing. There
Yeah.
is so, and I mean, it's definitely changed over the last couple of years, but even like 5 years ago or so when I started this, there is so much information out there. It's like, oh, bioidentical, not bioidentical, are hormones the enemy? Am I going to get cancer? What am I supposed to do? Like, there was so much information. I thought, man, if I'm a medical professional and I can't figure this out, how is the lay person and how are other women who have no medical knowledge supposed to navigate this? And then it just kind of snowballed from there. I kind of thought, well, maybe I can do some training and some nutrition with midlife women. I don't really love that term, but those of us at this phase of life. And but then I kind of was like, gosh, this is stuff that women should have access to for free. So the women who could afford to come and pay me to provide nutritional counseling, to provide personal training services, aren't always the women that need the support, right? There's like some of our marginalized communities and underprivileged communities, and just my own value of like accessible healthcare for all, and feeling like the government should really start prioritizing preventative healthcare and
Right.
making that more accessible to women. So then I kind of reached out to a friend of mine who's a doctor, and we went down the research route. So now we're able to provide education and services to women in our community through a research grant. So
Oh my God, I love that. That's amazing.
so that's kind of how we ended up here. It's snowballing, which is good.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. I really do think that you're so right in that somebody who's in the medical profession, if they can't figure it out, like there is just so much information with Google and ChatGPT and everyone on Instagram saying that they are that person you should listen to. And you're like, but what? I just, there's just
The
so
other
much
person
into it.
you listen to says something different. So how do you cut through the noise?
Yeah,
Exactly right.
All
It's
of our
so hard.
bodies and experiences are so unique, and like just like every individual is experiencing something so completely different when we're stepping into this phase of life, right? So although there's great information in many different categories, it's like which one do we follow? Which one do we understand, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's so true. So when you hear people on Instagram and stuff like that, they're saying, like my big red flags when I'm coaching people or talking to people is just like, if you hear somebody saying every woman should be XYZ, every woman should be on a keto diet, every woman should take hormones, every woman should do intermittent fasting, like run the other way. Just block them, because when they're generalizing like that, they're not taking into account this woman.
I love that. That's a really good tip. So can you explain what exactly perimenopause is and what the number one difference between perimenopause and like full-blown menopause is?
Yeah, absolutely. So the terminology is important and terminology matters. So I'll start with just menopause. So menopause is literally one day. It's the 12th anniversary of having no period, 12th month anniversary of having no period. So if you are somebody who has a menstrual cycle, and you go for 12 months fully without having a period, you can track it like that. On that 366th day, you are now officially in menopause. And that's basically that day. And then anything after that is what's considered postmenopause. Perimenopause, so peri in the medical lingo just means around. So perimenopause, around menopause. And it's basically, so you're premenopausal when you still have a regular menstrual cycle, you're still fertile or super fertile or whichever. And then you kind of start to hit perimenopause The hallmark signs are irregular periods. That's kind of like when you know that you're now maybe venturing into those hormonal shifts where your hormones are kind of shifting a little bit. And that can occur anywhere between months before the last final period to like 14 years, 10 to 14 years.
Oh gosh.
Oh, wow. So if your periods are still regular, then you're just like, that's a hard line of like, you're not in it.
So it's never a hard line, but in like medically speaking, we need some sort of way to measure it.
Mhm.
And so, and measuring hormones is never a good idea, and testing hormones is not really a good idea unless you're under the age of 40 to 45 and things are gone wonky, because then they want to know if you're in early menopause, because that has implications for later in life. So the normal age of menopause for someone to go through it is if you went through it naturally, without having any surgeries or chemotherapy or radiation, things like that, is between the age of 45 and 55. That's considered in the medical community, that's normal. That's when you should go through menopause. That's, the average age in North America is 51.2 years. So generally speaking, it's around 50. So if you're having hormonal shifts and irregular periods and you're between the age of basically 40 and 55, you can assume you're in perimenopause and your menopause will be coming at some point. And so it's significant, and to try to label it and try to define it as best we can, because we need to know, like if you're 35 years old and you're missing periods, and like things are all over the place and you have all the symptoms of perimenopause and you have hot flashes, you need to be seen by somebody, because you are probably in perimenopause and your estrogen and everything is declining, and that will have health implications later on. You could end up with osteoporosis earlier. You could end up with heart disease earlier. So that's why it's important. I think for women, especially like you're talking about the population that you guys generally talk to, women in their 30s and 40s, if things are different, you get it checked out, right? And if your doctor's not listening to you, just keep going back like, hey, I really think I'm in perimenopause. No, you're too young. You're too young. You're too young. No, I know I'm 35 years old, but something shifted. My periods are heavier. I've gotten them for 2 weeks at a time. I've missed 2 periods. I'm not pregnant. I've done a pregnancy test a million times. You've done all those things. You could easily be in, and that's early, that will be early menopause, and that can have health implications. So it's important for women to see their doctor in their 30s if they're having these shifts.
I feel like it's so normal for them to just like throw hormones at us though. Like I know myself personally, I had like months where I didn't have a period, and they wanted to give me progesterone, and here, just take this and then it'll fix itself and correct itself. And probably not the best medical advice, but also I'm not big on taking hormones that I don't necessarily need in my body extra. But it was a tough call to think like, do we not care, or am I just not getting the right information? And this is brand new. I'm glad that we have you here to explain this, because this is news to me, that the future implications that this can cause on our health, because I had no idea about that. So it's very interesting to hear that.
Estrogen is it's protective. It's protective of our bones, and it's protective of our heart. So generally speaking, men have heart disease earlier in life because they don't have the same amount of estrogen. Women tend to have heart disease after menopause because that estrogen drops. So estrogen itself does have the protective effects. So that's why if somebody was, let's say they had surgical menopause, they had ovarian cancer or something happened and they had to have their ovaries removed at 25 or 30 or something like that, if there's no contraindications to it, they should be put on hormones because they're at a hugely high risk for osteoporosis later on. Yeah, so there's reasons for it. And this is part of the other reason I do this, because the medical community is not very good at explaining the why. We just, we just throw things at people, and we don't give the time, because in all fairness, the way the system's set up, they have 15 minutes to see you.
Yeah.
Number one, that you're trying to talk to them, you try and tell them everything. They try to quickly give you something to help you because that's what they want to do, but then they don't have that time to do the health teaching. This is really why we want to do this. And so this is another reason why myself and our physician here in town is doing it. And we talk to our doctors and stuff. We're like, hey, people need to understand better why. So, and another example of that is if you're, having some hot flashes and maybe a bit of mood shifts and stuff in your early perimenopause, your doctor might prescribe you an antidepressant, an SSRI. But they don't always explain that that's because it's an off-label use for hot flashes. It works for hot flashes. So if you were somebody who didn't want to take hormones or couldn't take hormones, if you had an estrogen receptive cancer kind of thing and you couldn't take it, then they might try different things. And some of those things could be an antidepressant, which could also help mood, but it also helps hot flashes. And so they don't explain that very well. And women, of course, we've been medically gaslit for years. Our medical system is a patriarchal medical system, and that's what we've all been brought up in, unfortunately. There's lots of people like myself out there advocating to change it. And we have lots of really good doctors, and we have lots of really good people talking about these things. But we typically just don't do a good job of saying like, hey, let's try a lower dose than normal of this antidepressant. It could help with your mood a little bit, but mostly it's going to help with those hot flashes. So,
right. I think change is so hard too. And change also costs money. So there's a lot of things that kind of go into that back end. That's why people like you are really important, right? And I think, I know for me, I thought that changes around my period, a lot of women or moms might attribute irritability or forgetfulness to burnout, but how can we tell the difference between our standard mom stress and actual hormonal shifts?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I always kind of say, when I'm talking about menopause specifically, nothing happens in a vacuum, right? Your hormones don't shift in a vacuum. So number one, we're moms. And if we're moms of littles, then we are barely sleeping. How much time do we get to connect with our friends? Do we have that connection anymore, that face-to-face? How much stress do we have? The allostatic load of all the stressors in our life, good or bad? And so also, how much are you bleeding? If you're bleeding a lot with every period, is your iron low? Low iron can have a lot of the same symptoms as perimenopause, the brain fog, the forgetfulness, hair falling out. So when it comes to these kinds of things, it's I think we do not do women a good service when we just say it's just your hormones. Or it's just It's just anxiety. It's just whatever. It's or do we have a supportive partner at home, or are they a jerk? And do they not help us with anything or do anything? Is everything on us as moms? Some of us have aging parents that we're also trying to help out.
Right.
None of it happens in a vacuum. So can you tell if it's hormonal? Is it the stress? Is it burnout? It could be all of the above mixed into one. What I always kind of say is if a symptom or something is new for you, it deserves attention. And that attention is for you to recognize it and then for you to seek somebody who might be able to help explain it. So for example, periods have changed a bit, but they're really heavy. For 4 days, you're changing a pad or a tampon or both every 2 hours. And then you're just bagged after. Well, when was the last time you had your iron tested? Because your iron or your ferritin could be super low. And then, so it's your doctor should know those things. You should go get it checked out. The other thing I was going to say about that is let's say you do have shifts in your period and abnormal bleeding. Well, that might be perimenopause, but it could also be a sign of something more ominous in the uterus. So that deserves an ultrasound, not just, I think it's just my hormones. So if we just start blaming everything on hormones, we could miss some of the big things.
That's a big thing is you hear moms talk about that a lot is oh, my period's so much heavier after kids.
Yeah.
I've always had TMI here, but I've always had a really heavy menstrual cycle. So it hasn't lightened up at all. Like these people who are like, oh, I bleed for 3 days with a light. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, I don't know what that is. That doesn't happen here. It's a forever. It always lasts, that's 6 days, and it's usually fairly heavy. So that is great information because I probably do need my iron checked. I probably do need, what is ferritin?
That's your
ferritin is just something they can measure. It depends on
okay.
Basically iron, ferritin, without getting.
Oh, they go hand in hand. Okay.
Yeah, they go hand in hand. Sometimes your iron's not necessarily low. So ferritin, I might bastardize this. I can't remember exactly, but it's like a protein that iron finds like that. So yeah, they can check either one of them. And if they're low, essentially you just need more iron or blood.
Right. Yeah. For that.
And when we have these questions, is this like specifically for our family physician? Like, or do you advise this going to somebody that kind of knows more about this stuff? Because I feel like any period questions, like you said, it's a 15-minute window. So I'm sure they're just trying to assess really quickly, get you something to kind of quick fix it. But I feel like our bodies, again, so unique. So there's so many things that are happening in our bodies. And like, yeah, of course, I think I'm in perimenopause. My periods have gotten less and less over the last couple of years, more pain and severity and whatever else. But I've never thought to be like, hey, let me check with my doctor to make sure this isn't something else. Because I feel like I'm, of course, as a mother and the guilt and everything else that we carry, you always feel like you're a burden. You always feel like, oh, I don't have time for this to take care of myself. And I didn't realize that it was something that could possibly be more severe or a preventative to something else if I check on it now.
Yeah. And that's so true, right? We don't want to bother anybody. And we don't want to have somebody come watch our kids while we take 5 minutes to go to the doctor. And we just tend to, we can sometimes be our own worst enemies like that. And that's why like women deserve safe and effective, evidence-based healthcare. And we deserve to also take care of ourselves and go to the doctor when something's wrong, right? And so if you're having changes, and you're feeling different, it's like, yeah, so your family doctor is a good one to go to, especially if you have a good relationship with them. If you don't, I would still suggest going back to them because it's not like we can doctor hop and doctor shop around here. Like,
right.
Yeah.
We don't have that option. I don't know a lot about what naturopaths do, but if that's accessible or available to you, maybe they can do some vitamin and mineral blood testing and stuff like that. I can't really speak to that side of things because I don't work in that realm, but just a trusted healthcare provider, and if you're not getting where you think you want or need with your doctor, just be like, hey, can I just get a referral to a gynecologist?
Okay.
I don't know what's going on. And they might say, well, let's get you an ultrasound first. Let's do some blood work. Or you could just ask, just be like, hey, what's, I like you, Krystal, I've been bleeding a lot. I'm always like bagged. I'm blaming it on stress and having a little one, but could my iron be low?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it is about asking the right questions because we do only have like that little window of time. And like, honestly, my doctor is a male and I think sometimes things go right over his head. But he's also really great. He'll answer every question. I never feel rushed leaving there, which is really nice. But I think, sometimes we're maybe even too like uncomfortable talking to a male about certain things, right? Especially like, I feel like for me now, I don't really care, but someone who's maybe a little bit younger and having these shifts happen, and being dismissed by that doctor saying, oh, you're too young for that. That's really where those things change, right? Because you feel like I'm a burden. I don't want them to think that I'm asking these questions. Anyways, that's
and as you get a little bit older, you have less fucks to give, so you don't really things anymore. So you just go to the doctor.
That's it, exactly.
But if you're somebody who does worry about that, like I never went to the doctor, and I also took pride in that. I don't go to the doctor. I'm super healthy, right? So there's also like a bit of martyrdom that we do as moms. Mm-hmm. There's also a bit of, just suck it up, buttercup, pull up your bootstraps, and just sometimes it's the way we're raised. Our grandma, you didn't go to the doctor or to the hospital, to the emergency department, unless you were half dead or dying because she was a nurse, right?
Exactly.
Suck it up. Like if you got a gash on your arm, it's like, well, is it falling off? No, you're fine. Let's just bandage that up, right?
Oh
But
my
it also
God.
depends on how you're raised, I
Yes,
think.
for sure. So I do want to touch a little bit on sleep because I know, I mean, a lot of moms definitely don't get enough of it, even when we have a little bit older kids. But how does perimenopause specifically sabotage our sleep? And what can we do to balance that or help it in any way?
Yeah. So there's, like you said, like none of it happens in a vacuum. There's a lot
Right.
of different things that can impact our sleep. So if you've got a snoring partner, if you've got a toddler that likes to come in and wake you up, it's still co-sleep.
Uh-huh.
You got animals that love to sleep in your bed. Those kinds of things can impact sleep. Perimenopause itself, like let's say you didn't have all that and you normally slept fine and there's nobody else in your bed and you're in heaven because you're all alone.
Love it. It's a pipe dream. It's a pipe dream.
I know. There's your hormones can shift a little. They do generally shift as we get older.
Right. Just
Yeah, but cortisol, it plays a big part in our sleep wake cycle. So
it's a buzzword.
it is a buzzword, so that's why I don't love using it because I don't like blaming everything on cortisol, but it really does impact our sleep. So if we are chronically stressed and we don't break that stress cycle and we don't come out of it and stuff, our cortisol can stay elevated. And that's typically when you get like the consistent 2 or 3 a.m. awakenings. You could go to bed at 10, you might fall asleep okay. You're good for 4 hours, and all of a sudden you're awake without a little one, but like awake at like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and like wide awake. And then of course the little gerbil starts going and you start making lists in your head.
Love that.
Yeah, but so there are hormonal shifts. We do tend to sleep lighter, especially women as we get older. I think mine started when I was pregnant. Like I found I started to sleep lighter. I used to sleep like a rock. You could barely wake me up. But when I'm pregnant, I think your body's kind of preparing you for, hey, guess what? You're going to be up half the bloody night now. And push it on you so you don't have any fucking sleep. Which is awful. I'm a bear.
Yeah.
For multiple days in a row, you just get into a fog. So the hormones that play a part in that as well. Like it can shift and it can change. So the things that we can do, all the buzzwords of sleep hygiene, right? So when we're looking at some of the best things we can do for ourselves is have the exact same wake up and the same bedtime as much as possible. Even on weekends, if possible. Again, with little ones, you just get through the day.
It's so hard.
It is super hard, but that stress reduction techniques are really good. There's a lot more research coming out about the importance of community and connection, and I don't think we do that enough. Sometimes we have our mom groups, and those are awesome, or like what you and Desi do. I don't know how much time you spend outside of this with each other, or just really that face-to-face or even FaceTime. If you can't do it, connection with friends, you can have a good laugh, have a few glasses of wine if you want.
I love that.
Yeah, the stress reduction is a big part, and exercise, moving. I shouldn't call people. Some people don't like to call it exercise. So just intentional movement, body. Like if exercise was a drug, every doctor would prescribe it and every person would want it because it literally impacts everything. It can reduce our risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. It reduces our risk of heart disease. It improves our mood and increases our serotonin. And it can help with the sleep-wake cycle as well. So if you go to bed bagged because you've been busy all day, which we tend to be as moms, it really does help. And also nutrition. I don't prescribe to any diet camp. Whatever somebody wants to eat that works for them is cool. My rules are kind of like 80-20. If 80% of your intake could be, whole foods, that could be frozen, that could even be canned. It's not the devil. Everything's okay. If the only canned fruits and vegetables that are available to you from a financial perspective, the only fruits and vegetables are canned, eat it. It's still a vegetable. We're getting nutrients. And I think sometimes just staying off social media or curating your social media so it brings you joy.
Yes.
Right? And because it can be a lot of doom and gloom, it can also be a lot of pressure when we're watching different like influencers who are now all of a sudden, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Next thing you know, I'm shooting all over myself.
Yeah.
And then I'm hard on myself, and that increases my stress. And then I worry about like the mom guilt. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've had
Never ending.
mom guilt for 17 years now. Yeah, so just like, giving ourselves some self-compassion. Like
I love
I
that.
would kind of say, would you talk to your friend the way you're talking to yourself right now? Like, oh my
Right.
God, why did you just yell at your kid? You're such a bad mom. Would you ever say that to a friend? No.
No.
Just like, I really just think going back to the basics, if you don't have a decent way to de-stress, if you're trying your best to get as much sleep as you can, like trying to prioritize it as best we can within the limitations of little ones that we have, and trying to eat as nutritiously as we can. If it's 50%, that's fine. If you can add an apple to that day, cool. Like every little bit helps. And then again, just moving our body. If that's dancing in the living room, if it's running outside with your kids, if it's intentional exercise like strength training, and stuff like that, those are the things that will help improve our sleep too. Like nothing ever happens in a vacuum. But of course,
I
if
love it.
you are at a point where you're having night sweats and your night sweats are waking you up at night, there's treatment for that.
Right.
Estrogen is the gold standard for women who can take it. Estrogen's 90% effective for hot flashes and night sweats for women who can or want to take it. Does that mean everybody has to? No. There's other options. There's like I talked about with SSRIs, with some of our antidepressants. There's also gabapentin, which is a nerve pill. It can help sedate us as well, but it also works on the same part of the brain where hot flashes are caused from. So if the reason you're not sleeping well is because of hot flashes, that can be treated with hormonal or non-hormonal. And the other thing I always like to talk about, what's not talked about enough for women when it comes to sleep, is sleep apnea and sleep issues. Doctors especially and the general public just see sleep apnea, which is where you stop breathing at night multiple times a night. A lot of people, doctors included, feel like sleep apnea is just a man, like an obese man, older man's problem. But a lot of women have sleep problems as well. So let's say you are able to get 8 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep and you wake up completely bagged and tired, even though you feel like you slept well, it might deserve a sleep study, right? Going to your doctor. I don't want sleep pills. I don't want sleeping pills because they super effective. They should only be used in the short term. But like maybe should I get a sleep study done? I mean, a lot of these that referrals to gynecologists, sleep studies, some of them take months and months and months to get anyway.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. So one last question, and then we're going to get into some rapid fire stuff. Are we ever fully out of menopause, or are we forever haunted by all of these symptoms? And I know you said at the beginning that menopause is just one day. So now we're in post-menopause, but are those symptoms literally going to last forever?
Yeah, so again, like Desi talked about, everybody is individual and everybody is different. So when we're talking about the symptoms of perimenopause, like we've talked about, maybe some of the sleep disturbances, changes in periods, some of the brain fog or, joint pain, whatever else we're experiencing. Generally, people experience that kind of stuff for about 4 to 7 years. That is the average. Post-menopause, again, statistically speaking, everyone's different. But generally speaking, so for the first year, like you hit menopause, and then the first year after that, people generally still have hot flashes and all the symptoms. But, on average, about 2 years post-menopause, people, that's when your estrogen kind of levels out at its new low. So you're perimenopause, your estrogen's a wild fluctuation. Like it can, and you can have something they're called luteal out of phase events where you actually have too much estrogen. Your follicles are sending out more estrogen. So this is why it's really important not to base treatment on blood tests or saliva tests, because our hormones can be all over the place, and because of these luteal out of phase events, your estrogen could be high when it's not supposed to be high in your cycle.
It sounds like a mixture of our cycles now, like how we have our follicular, our luteal. It sounds like a mixture of them together.
Yeah, it just goes all wonky. Like
it's crazy.
Yeah, in the premenopause, like our estrogen and progesterone have a very normal, this is our period, how it goes. But in perimenopause, because it's like the follicles are like, it's like one last hurrah, like hurrah, let's have a baby.
Gosh.
And this is why also happen very easily around 40 years old if you get pregnant around 40, because they're sending out extra eggs. Because it's like, they're going, okay, this is our last hurrah to get pregnant. So a lot of women have not identical but fraternal twins around this age as well because of that.
Okay.
Love that.
Careful. And actually, to another point to that, you guys aren't close to this, but if you are at risk of a pregnancy, and especially one that you don't want, and let's say you are menopausal, they recommend birth control for at least 1 year post-menopause, because you can still get pregnant in that time. Right. So if pregnancy is something that is not wanted around 50 or whenever you're going through menopause, stay on birth control for 1 year after menopause. But yeah, so the symptoms post-menopause, generally speaking, that about that 2 year mark, a lot of people start to be like, oh, I think I feel like myself again. I didn't feel like myself for the last 10 years. Everybody else thought I was going crazy. I went crazy, but then it kind of levels out. So maybe the brain fog goes away. The hot flashes might stop. Some people are super flashers and they can have hot flashes for like 10 years post-menopause. My mom was, yeah, so it's, again, very dependent on the person. We can tell you what the average person goes through, but none of us are normal as a setting on a dryer. So is it normal? No, it's common. Right. But that being said, menopause itself is not something, it's a completely natural part of life. It is not something that inherently needs to be fixed, needs to be cured, or needs treatment. Right. If the symptoms of perimenopause are impacting your life to the point where it's hard to function, your relationships are struggling, everything, then it deserves attention and it deserves safe and effective treatment. But menopause itself doesn't inherently need any treatment. There have been millions of women worldwide that have lived long, happy lives without ever being on a hormone, right? So, big push for hormones now, and especially like there's some doctors in the States who are really pushing it for brain health and for heart health. But there's no evidence to support that it's good for prevention, other than osteoporosis. That is the one we've got for. But it's, there's lots of women that didn't get dementia and were never on a hormone. There's lots of women that didn't have heart disease that were never on a hormone. So, we just need to do what's right for us.
I love that. Oh, we could talk about this forever. It's so good. It's so good. Okay. Des, you want to do a couple of quick questions?
Yeah, we're going to get into a little bit of what we like to call it rapid fire, but it's never rapid fire.
But we'll try and keep it rapid.
Yes. So the first one, supplement or snack. What is the one thing you personally never go a day without?
Ooh, a supplement or a snack. Chocolate covered almonds.
Love that. Yum. That's a good one. Okay, Mythbuster. So what is the most annoying menopause hack you see online that women should ignore?
The supplement industry telling you that they have a magic cure that the physicians and the big pharma don't want you to know.
Because we don't need to be cured.
No, not only that, that's like, if the supplement industry, if big natural was as highly regulated as big pharma, I would have more faith in it. But unfortunately, trust me, if there was a magic cure, big pharma would know and they would be capped on
They
that.
would have it.
Okay, the symptom MVP. If you could delete one perimenopause symptom from existence, which one would it be?
Probably the mood fluctuations.
Yeah, 'cause I think that one affects so much more, right? It affects like your relationships and your work, that ripple effect from it for sure.
Motivation side to get out in nature, to go exercise, like it impacts really everything. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, I want to ask one last question. So what is the most common health question you get asked from our family at holiday events?
Oh gosh. Can you tell me what this rash is? No. Your hands up. I don't want to see that. I don't typically get asked a lot. I think I kind of keep myself shut down.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good.
All
right.
Boundaries, not give advice.
Yes,
so,
that's true. Boundaries are key. We talk about that a lot. Okay. Well, I feel like I'm breathing a huge sigh of relief after this conversation. It was so good. If there is one takeaway today, it is that you aren't crazy, you aren't alone, and it might just be perimenopause. A huge thank you to my cousin Angie for sharing her expertise and making this topic feel so approachable. We'll have all of her resources and where you can find her linked in the show notes. And if this episode helped you, please share it with a friend who might be feeling a little off lately. Until next week, take care.
Well, that went by fast. Kind of like every quiet moment we try to have in real life.
Right? I swear I just sat down and now it's already time to get back up again.
Story of our lives. But before we head back into the chaos, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
We hope this episode made you laugh, think, or at least reminded you that you're not the only one trying to hold it all together.
Because none of us really have it figured out. We're all just doing our best, one cup of coffee and one deep breath at a time.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit that follow or subscribe button so you never miss when we finally get to sit down again.
And share it with a friend who could use a little reminder that it's okay to take a break, because she deserves it too.
You can find us over on Instagram and TikTok at ijustsatdown.podcast. We love hearing from you, your stories, your wins, and even your "you won't believe what happened to me today" moments. So get comfy, because by the time you finally sit down, we'll be right here with you.